evening, starting right on time. I'd like to call to order the June 6th Planning Board meeting. For Falmouth, the first thing on the agenda is the minutes from May 23rd.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend approval of the minutes of May 23rd, 2017.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? The next is public comment. This is on any items that are not on our agenda. Is there anyone here that has a public comment?
As a board member, can I make a public comment?
Sure.
No, I think I can stay.
I wasn't planning on something like that, but I don't see why not. Go ahead.
After last week, or the last meeting, I just felt a little unsettled about the beginning of it. We had our board reorganization, and then we had a motion to bring up public discussion. And I thought that had already been a future agenda item. But we had a motion, a discussion, and a vote on something that wasn't on the agenda. And I've been kicking myself because I felt I should have made a point of order for that. But I'm just saying this as a precautionary measure for us.
It is only for a few months. We're trying it out, and as you can see tonight, there's no demand for it, and we'll
I know, no, it's not the item, it's the way
we did it,
the way
yeah.
it came about last week. I think we need to be careful about that.
My fault. Sorry, Bill.
Agreed. Okay, hearing none, on to the next item on the agenda. It's a public hearing. No, it's two A&R, sorry. First one came in, you guys maybe not had a chance to see it. It just came in today or late yesterday afternoon. It is on Palmer Avenue. It has the appropriate frontage for two lots. They're doing this.
See it.
Everyone on board? You all see this?
Yep.
Motion to endorse.
I move that we endorse, excuse me, the approval not required plan without regard to buildability, et cetera.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Another A&R behind it. Have you all had time to look at this plan? Everyone seen it?
Yes.
Yep.
Looking for a motion? Somebody?
I'll move that we endorse the A&R for
Charles
for
Texera,
Charles Texera,
198
198 Carrot Shop Road, without any regard to buildability.
Second.
All in favor?
I have a question
Yes.
first, please. On this plan, is there supposed to be some language about it not being deemed a buildable lot, or, I don't see any language on it. I don't know if this is the plan that's going to get recorded, but I don't see anything here with that type of language. Is that a requirement for an A&R plan?
No, it isn't. We don't have to comment on zoning, anything to do with zoning.
Okay, I thought I had to have that language on the plan, but if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
But John, we say without regard to buildability, so it can be done, but
Brian,
think
would
that's
you
correct.
answer John's question? Does it need to be stated on the plan? That's the question.
If you believe that the plan lacks the requisite frontage, or if you believe that there might be a zoning defect, the board is within its rights to put a notation on the plan that your endorsement under the subdivision control law is without regard to zoning or buildability. It may be subject to other notation thereon. Because the only thing in front of you is whether or not this plan depicts a subdivision. My understanding is that both lots on the Texera plan have the requisite frontage on a public way. That is the requisite lot areas and whatnot.
Could this be
So
further
there's no need to place a notation that one of the parcels is unbuildable. But you may, if you want, John, you're certainly within your rights to add a notation if it's not on there. but your endorsement is without regard to zoning buildability.
So the point I'm trying to make is I see it's on the plan. It says, Falmouth Planning Board voted, quote, approval under the subdivision control law not required.
The only question in
And,
front,
end of quote. And my only concern is that if somebody else looked at this plan, prospective buyer, they might interpret that to say that approval wasn't required, so this is a subdivision. And so this becomes a buildable lot. And it's my understanding, under an A&R plan, we're not saying that it's a buildable lot.
correct. The only question you're answering is that the plan does not depict a subdivision under the subdivision control law. And no further planning board supervision is necessary, and they can go off to the registry of deeds and record their plan.
I understand that.
If they bring that plan down to the building department and ask for a building permit, that's a whole different kettle of fish. They may say, well, gee whiz, your plan lacks a requisite zoning parameter or whatnot. And that's why these plans often have the notation on there that it's, your endorsement is a very, very defined, very narrow scope, doesn't implicate any other zoning statute, any other buildability statute. So I don't know if that, does this plan have that notation on there, or without regard to zoning or buildability or whatnot?
No.
No. So you're, if you want to make your motion that that notation appear,
Bob did.
Bob did, okay.
Yeah.
That's exactly what he said in his motion.
So then your vote is to endorse the plan with that notation on there.
Okay.
So people aren't, and it oftentimes happens, people say, oh, the plan board voted this, it must be okay. No.
The A&R plans I've seen had a stamp on it, made the notation that this is not any zoning protection, or, it made it clear that if somebody buys the lot, that it's not automatically a buildable lot. That's all I was trying to say.
Yeah, that's fine, and I
And
missed
Bob
it on
made that
Bob's,
motion. I'm sorry, I
I missed-
didn't
I missed it too.
understand it, so.
Yeah. Without regard to buildability.
Yes, Pat?
Yeah, he made it without regard to buildability, but not to put that notation on the plan. So should it be changed to put the notation on the plan?
I'll mention it to Mr. Warwick that he should put the notation on the plan, they will. Oh, you're within your rights, I'm within my rights to write it in for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? It's approved. Next is a public hearing,
Somebody had
CLVS Limited Partnership. Do we have any notices on this?
Thank you.
They're very true.
Notice of public hearing was issued on 3 times, on May 19th, May 26th, and June 2nd, 2017. In addition, 8 abutters were notified by certified mail return receipt.
We can pass them down.
Oh, all right.
Where'd you borrow the tie from? Where'd you get the tie?
I don't know. I don't remember.
So, for the applicant, Mr. McGrath,
My name is Michael McGrath. I'm a registered engineer and professional land surveyor. I work for Holmes and McGrath. The current proposal is to have the planning board agree that that lot 19A and 20A in Ballymead does not need to have a shared driveway.
can you explain to us why you're asking for that? I mean, this is a plan that's already been approved with the shared driveway. Why are you here to change that?
Because this lot's been for sale for 20 years, and I have not been able to sell the lot, as I explained in the letter. And they have a valid purchase and sales agreement to build that, to sell that lot, move that home site down to this location. And the condition of the purchase and sale is that this man doesn't want to share the driveway with the with the other home site.
Why
And
was the
since-
shared driveway put there in the first place? It's before my time, I don't remember it.
All right, this goes back to, Ballymene has got quite a history, and there is, there was a series of approvals, and the subdivision as a whole was approved in the mid-'80s. Then there was a recession, and during the recession, there was a foreclosure, and in the meantime, the town rezoned this. So after the foreclosure, CLSV acquired the site, and they got a variance that basically said this was equivalent to a cluster subdivision. It was the same density, but they didn't want to go through all the permitting since some of the house lots had already been sold. It was a real mess. And the bottom line is the town agreed with it. Then during the, several years ago, I'm sorry. In the
When you say the
beginning,
town- when
in
you
the
say the town, you mean the
beginning,
planning board?
stop,
You said the town,
the zoning board of
the
appeals
zoning board of appeals.
issued a variance.
Okay.
And so what went on at the time is that when this was subdivided back in the '80s, they showed a roadway called Moraine Ridge Road that was supposed to provide a future connection for future roads in the event that the land to the north got developed. So there was going to be actually two stubs. Then what happened is that the golf course got permitted, that's now called the Cape Club. So Moraine Ridge Road was not needed anymore. So we came in and we abandoned the road, I don't know, a long time ago. The planning board we just recorded the abandonment again. So one of the conditions in the abandonment that was made years ago was that there be a shared driveway. But they haven't been able to sell it with a shared driveway. I have a family member that has a shared driveway, and he unfortunately gets up first, so he ends up plowing the shared driveway, and his neighbor never plows. So I look at shared driveways completely different than most. In any case, we staked out the two driveways, we staked out the lot line. We have pending before the Board of Appeals a request to move the home sites. Part of the condition of the original variance at Ballymene was that we had designated home sites. In order to move the home site, we had to apply for modification of the variance. We've continued that hearing until you've looked at this, since the Board of Appeals thought that your input was important. And so what we're here for is basically saying that we've had such market resistance from trying to build one long driveway and have both. The original design was both houses were going to be up here, way up by the golf course. But the current purchase and sales moves the house down close to the road. The house was staked out as well as the center line of the driveways. This is a suitable site for a house, and there's no reason to have a shared driveway anymore because the home site's been moved. And so, now, this plan shows a lot line that doesn't exist, but we thought we needed to get this modification done first, and then once it's approved, we're going to file an A&R. Are there any, by the way, I gave you a copy of a letter from the Ballymene Property Owners Association approving this, and Joe Navallini, who is the president, is here in the audience, as well as Alan Peretti. And Jody Shaw is an agent for CLSB since the 93. So to me, it's pretty simple. The market conditions are much different than when we started, and the other reason, there was no reason to have Moraine Ridge Road, and now we've had such resistance from the long, long driveway that it seems appropriate, now that they have a sale, to putting two separate driveways. There's adequate sight distance. There's no real issue on the ground.
Can I?
Do you have a question?
Yes. So on this plan, it has the arrow there that says home site. And is that a home that's presently built toward the bottom
No,
of
that's a
that?
proposed house.
At the bottom.
This is a proposed house.
Then what's the upper that says home site?
Well, what happens in Ballymead, every building lot has a home site. You have to place the home inside the home site. It was a condition of the variance. Believe me, every lot in Ballymead has a home site designated like that on a plan.
And the line that says proposed property line?
There's a proposed property line that runs up like this. Yes.
No, that cuts across that lot.
No, it points to this,
What
right here.
we just abandoned the
Points to this
road
line.
that's just in here like this, and rather than create a curvy line, we have created a series of straight lines that follow the topography so that this driveway is easy to build, plus we meet all the criteria of a building lot.
So where it says home site, that's a misnomer because the site is actually down further.
Under the Board of Appeals variance, we have to designate an area called a home site. So we have pending before the Board of Appeals, the approval to have this as a home site.
The whole thing.
Believe me, every house lot in Ballymead has a designated site like that. All 447. 290? 274.
Pam, are you all set, Pam?
Yeah.
Bob?
Mike, I just want to get this straight. You've abandoned Moraine Ridge Lane, and now you want to make that the driveway? Is that what you're saying?
That's going to be the driveway for
Okay.
that home site.
Okay, that's clear now. Thanks.
This is very weird. There's no.
Anyone from the public? Please step up.
Good evening. I'm Joe Novelly, President of Ballymead Property Owners Association, and I wanted to add my endorsement to this plan. It works out in the best interest of both our association and the developers, and helps us to finish out some of the final properties in our development that haven't been sold as yet. We have entered into an agreement with the developer to provide the means after your approval and the zoning board of appeals approval to provide such tools that are necessary between us and CSLV to make this happen, so that everything is in place between our two parties to facilitate this move pending your approval. Thank you.
Anybody else? Please step up.
Good evening, my name is Dave House, that's my wife Marilyn. We're the immediate abutters to the east. I actually have no problem with the shared driveway issue, that's fine, but the relocation of the building site is an issue. When we bought our house, that building site was clearly designed.
Hold on for a second. I don't believe that's what we're talking about here tonight. I think you're at the wrong meeting. I believe you need to be at the zoning board of appeals for that.
All right, I thought that might be the case,
Yeah,
but I
don't
wanted to
believe
bring it
that-
up.
That's not on our agenda.
Very good, all right,
So,
thank you.
We try not to do their work, and we don't like it when they do ours, so.
I get it.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I have a question.
Question? Go ahead.
Mr. McGrath, lot 28, does that include the Ridge Road?
Lot 20, when it's completed, will be this
It
raggedy
includes that Ridge
line
Road,
down like this and across. So
including the green area.
it includes some of the fee in the original Moraine Ridge Road.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Public all done? Okay.
We need to close the
Make a
We
hearing.
need to close this, motion to close the hearing?
I'd like to move to close this hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Thank you. Moving very quickly tonight here. Here we go. Next is planning board discussion, and I suggested this. This is committee assignments. After our meeting last week, I thought about some of the things we did, and I was fine with it, but it went quickly, and I wanted to go back, and in particular, one of the things that we did, and I was part of it, when we were coming out of the local comprehensive plan and having what we called low-hanging fruit and things we wanted to do, we decided that the accessory apartment bylaw was something we wanted to challenge. So I kind of took it on myself as to be the champion of that, and worked on it for 3 years. I now have turned my attention to the Davis Straits project, and I was hoping that somebody else would pick up the housing component, because we did identify that there was not only the multifamily housing need for a zone to be created, as well as changes the conversion bylaw. And then Pam volunteered for a couple assignments and enthusiasm and ready to do it, and we never really had anyone step up for on the housing side and take on that. So I just wanted to bring it up for discussion. See, Pam, you presently sit on the Affordable Housing Committee, is that correct?
Right.
To me, it would seem perfect that you should be the champion for the changing of the bylaws for multifamily. As when Judy did the study, that was one of the 3 things she recommended, and we haven't finished it. We only accomplished 1. And I just thought somebody should be. I was going to look and see if you or anybody else wanted to take on kind of the role of champion the multifamily housing district.
So we don't have that presently in the town of Falmouth?
No, we do
districts
not.
For multifamily housing?
That's one of the reasons why it was one of the 3 components that we needed to change in our zoning to satisfy, you can't have an apartment building in Falmouth. It's not allowed. That if it's pre-existing non-conforming, you can have it, or 40B. But under our current zoning, there's no place. So the way it works is we first need to create the district. Okay, we have public discussion, and then after it gets created, then we decide where it goes. And having done 2 of them myself, I was hoping somebody else would pick it up, and so I just wanted to ask you what you thought about doing that, and whether you.
I'd be interested in working on that with somebody else,
Okay.
with lots of questions. When you talk about a conversion bylaw, conversion from what to what?
Well, we have a conversion bylaw that's the 3rd thing on the list. The first thing I was talking about is multifamily district, is what I'm talking about, doing that first. Okay, that's just creating the district. So what that conversation will be with public hearing, we'll decide, okay, the number 1 question is density. How many, if we're gonna, let's not say where we're gonna put it, but if we're gonna have it, how dense is it? Are we gonna have 10 units per acre? What do we need to create more housing? So then we have the public discussion and hearing, and the 2/3, we can take it to town meeting, we go that process, and then we assign it to a location afterwards, and that goes to town meeting. So it's a long, drawn-out process. It takes a couple years of effort, and the only way I find that these things get done is somebody is a champion for it and brings it up all the time and keeps pounding away on it. And that is how the accessory apartment got done. It's how the light industrial C got done. Okay, those were long-range, hard work things, and I decided I wanted to change my focus is, I'm interested in the Davis Straits, so I dropped the ball. I was hoping somebody else would pick up that challenge, and so I wanted to, thinking about what we've done, I would like to have you reconsider not working on the Davis Straits, but keep in mind, anything that Davis Straits does comes back to the planning board. We're all involved in every decision. It's really hard to be, I'd like to see someone, and preferably you, because of your, to champion the, both of them, but one step at a time, the multifamily housing district, the creation of it. And it's you know, it's not easy.
Well, they both dovetail together,
They do.
Yeah, they do.
so.
Oh, and to answer your question on the conversion bylaw, if you have a building that was built before 1980 in this building, you can, by right, convert it, I think it's with a special permit, I shouldn't say by right, into up to four condos. So you can subdivide the building itself into four. There's examples of it. There's one on Clinton Street, there's one on Thomas Lane. Brian, do you know what any,
At the corner of Hewens and Main Street.
Yeah,
yeah,
This is from a single family.
it's from a single family.
yeah.
So you can make it into a multifamily if it was, and it was something that our board set up to preserve some of the bigger old buildings that were running down and no one wanted them anymore. So they thought, well, why don't we save these old structures? You can't, under this bylaw, you can't put new additions on them, you can't make them bigger, but you convert the structure into 4 units. So it's a way to get taking a big building and make it into multifamily, but no more than 4. The conversion, the multifamily bylaw that we're talking about is creating a district where we would have, where you could build multifamily. There would be allowed, it would be zoned for that. And there's a lot of discussions on, when do we want it in the first place? Does it have town meeting support? How many units should it have? You know.
Let me ask this question, with this, when you convert a single-family home with 4 units, is there any designation that one of them would have to be affordable?
No, there isn't. It's already on the books, there is not. When was that? That was done in the 80s, wasn't it? It's been on the books for a long time. But that's not what, that'd be another change, to go back and change that. We could do that as well, but I thought the next one to go after, which I think would be, bring us more multifamily or affordable housing faster, is if we did create a multifamily district.
And what's key is the density. So
Right.
let's say we're going to add housing to the Davis Straits area. Do we want to allow somebody to have retail on the first floor and 6 apartments above it, 8 apartments? That's what we're kind of
Mixed
talking
use,
about. I think the Oddfellows Hall, what did that convert to? 20 units per acre? Because of the-
32.
32 per acre, because there's 4 units in that, on that tiny lot. So that's kind of what we're looking at, is being able to, what's going to be the magic number for,
Without having to go through a 40B.
yeah.
So that this is just something that could be done. But I didn't really want to debate the merits of that bylaw, I just really wanted to set up the team where people were working on tonight. I was wondering if you would reconsider taking that charge, because it's a pretty big,
As opposed,
well,
and
didn't you volunteer for 2? Well, no one took that, I just didn't want to give you 3 committees that you're on. We usually try to spread it out a
oh,
little
no,
bit.
no, that's, I understand.
Go for it.
What?
Go for it.
So, I mean, I don't know if we need 2 planning board members on the Davis Straits or on any committee, because no matter what this committee does, it comes back to this board.
Well, Charlotte's willing to work on it with me, so.
So
I
there-
was just
there-
gonna do it.
So there's a good
We
team.
talked about it on the
Okay.
way over here.
So then we'll shuffle the assignments a little bit, put you and Charlotte on the
Multifamily.
multifamily district.
Yeah, I was just, that's what my hand was up for, because I was thinking, Pam is relatively new to the board. Charlotte is very, very, very new to the board, and I think this, rather than dumping on Pam like that, even though she's on the Affordable Housing Committee, I think it would serve better to have at least a couple of minds, because you know what came of the LCP with 3 of
Right.
us on it. It just you get more bouncing around, more ideas.
I think that could be part of the discussion as we go through the elements with the local comprehensive plan committee as it exists now. So I think we could be the sounding board for what Pam brings to us.
Because you're on that, so.
Yeah.
And that's actually how the accessory apartment bylaw got done. It really did come out of the local comprehensive plan. You know, it was there, but the three of us worked on it together a lot.
Right.
But it was on part of the LCP.
Okay. So your arms are broken? You're going to do it?
This wasn't a surprise because Pat,
I already broke your arm off.
Okay.
I'm glad, thank you.
Anybody, any other committee assignments or thoughts that anyone has? Any other ideas?
Well, I'm on the Coastal Resources Action Committee, and that's getting pretty active right now, so I'm on that one. And I'll be happy to make reports when we get to reporting of the committee, because I think it's important what's going on with that committee.
John, we got you on one yet?
CPC,
Okay, good. Pat?
Well, it has to do with the three of us being continuing, well, Pam sort of new, but sort of continuing. And Bob and I still remaining on the LCP, and we're doing what you charged us to do, which is to start reviewing the LCP. And so that's right in its infancy. We met with Ray Jack and went over only one of the elements that the DPW is in. And I think the three of us really do want to continue on that. And these are all the housing, and this is all dovetailing.
Yeah, we discussed, we went over the transportation element. We discussed whether to have another transportation committee, and it was kind of decided that we didn't really want to do that we can probably do more through the local comprehensive plan and the action items and push things that way. I mean, some of the things that came up were parking was a big thing, which I think you know that is something I want to see changed in the zoning bylaws. But just the whole idea of parking on Main Street, there's been all kinds of proposals to eliminate parking, to have parking on one side. I don't know. I don't have a problem with the parking on Main Street. I would hate to see a parking garage built, because all you do is create more congestion. If you build things that people think they're going to be able to drive down, it's not going to alleviate anything. And as far as driving on Main Street, if you go out to breakfast early, I'm on Main Street at 6:30. 7 o'clock on Friday mornings, and people book down there when there's no traffic. I think Main Street is an active, vibrant area, and it has a tendency to slow the traffic down. I would love to see that extended further down. But we talk about the resources that we have here. We've got satellite parking areas all over town, and we really need to push for a transportation system, a shuttle system that can bring people from one location to another, to the beaches, to downtown. We have to push public transportation. When you have a population that doubles or triples in the summer, not everyone should be driving, and we need to really take a serious look at that. And I think through the local comprehensive plan, we can do that. We also talked about rail service, how important keeping that line that goes to the base really is. We spoke about it in terms not only of getting trash from a transfer station here on the Cape, which if it's eliminated is going to mean all kinds of truck traffic, an increase in the number of trucks, but also in case of a major catastrophe here. If the bridges aren't functioning, you might need to bring in heavy equipment. The best way to do that is by rail. Getting debris out from here would be best done by rail as opposed to all the trucks. I was in Homestead, Florida right after Hurricane Andrew, and you talk about debris, and I can see this situation here where this is more built up.
Okay, we're getting a little off, we're discussing committee assignments. I get your point.
Yeah, but we're talking transportation.
Yeah, I get you. You're migrated to the transportation, not the committee assignments.
Yes, okay.
So I think we'll stop it there, but we'll
stand
bring it
corrected.
up. No,
Yes.
bring it up the next
I
time.
feel vindicated now with the public
Yeah,
participation.
We're even.
We're even now, good.
But But that's part of local comprehensive plan, that's not necessarily a committee assignment, that's a
Well, it's a
Subcommittee,
subcommittee, but
of-
it's similar, yeah.
and I thought we were talking about these external committees where we need representation.
We're talking about all committees, yeah, which it is a committee.
Wastewater Advisory Committee.
Anyone sit on that?
I've been on it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Wastewater Advisory. Yeah, Are
Oh,
you
no.
on it now?
I'll be happy to continue, but
But do we have an official member on that board, Brian?
not official.
Not official.
No, it's a
That's
liaison.
like mine
It's a
being on the E
liaison. I
EDIC.
go whenever I can. They meet every week, every other week on a Thursday afternoon, and I try to attend as many as I can. And they're usually pretty interesting,
Well,
it's a good
and
committee.
let's migrate right on to future agenda items. No, we'll
Oh, sorry,
get
yeah.
general court, we'll get two more things. We will deal with that in future agenda items, because
Well,
we
it's a
should have
committee
committee,
assignment.
we should have committee reports, is what I'm
Oh,
saying.
yes, but it's a committee
Yes,
assignment.
you got it.
Okay.
It's not very hard to get an assigned to a committee. Yes, you got
You
it.
see, Pat, it's pretty simple. Oh, Pam, excuse me, Pam.
No,
I'm looking at Pat.
Thank you, Paul.
all right. So, we've covered committee assignments. Now, the next, you got something?
Zoning bylaw.
Yeah, zoning bylaw, restructuring. How do you want to start us off with this discussion?
Option A, option B,
Two from column A and one
two
from
from
column
column
B.
one.
Well, let's start off, have you all had a chance to look at the two different models that was sent to us, two different towns? On it?
Can I make a comment on this?
Can I find it now?
You know, town meeting approved money to do this review of the bylaws quite a while ago, I don't know, sometime maybe a year ago. And I noticed the report came in 3 months ago, and the summary report I thought was pretty well done, addressed a lot of issues, apparently talked to a lot of people in town. And there were some very significant issues they brought up, and I would agree with many of them. The concern I have is I think it's a very important element that needs to be accelerated a little bit more. We can't get a report wait 3 months to see it, and we can't get funding from a year ago, and not much is happening. So I think somehow we have to start encouraging more feedback or a better process to get this thing moving, because it is a very important element. As you know, one of the issues that we went to court on, and I testified on, was a minor element in the bylaw which basically won the case against the planning board. And it was not a very good bylaw. So we need to work on those issues very effectively, very quickly, I think. So I would encourage, if we're going to assign someone to work on that we move that as a priority.
Do you have something for us tonight, Brian?
A couple weeks ago, I handed out these
Yeah.
frameworks, which is sort of foundation for the activity that's going to be coming. And as you may recall, I said it's going to sort of really ramp up over the next few months, probably not for this November town meeting, but for sure your April town meeting. November town meeting, you're probably going to give a report. You know, the town meeting members know it's coming. But one of the fundamental things that the consultants want some feedback from the boards that are going to use this the most, and the staff's going to use it the most. Internally, we reviewed it, and we have some ideas. We want to hear tabula rasa, you know, the boards, the framework that you see here that we handed it out to you a few weeks ago, the homework, which would you prefer, if any? You may say either is fine, but we'd like to hear from the individual board members, and maybe hope perhaps a consensus from this board before we move forward with the consultants. And if you have some opinions, great. If you don't, either one is fine, that's great too, but I want to hear from you.
I have an opinion on, I think we need to start with definitions. I've had some experiences with words being decided one way or another by whether it's plural or singular, or just, it's just not clear. So I think we need to start there and then go through article.
Yeah. And we are, and that's sort of a tactical question, you know, get rid of some definitions we don't have or need, clarify and simplify many that we have. But where that's going to reside and how it's going to reside and what it's going to look like and the ease of discovery is really the question I have for the board members tonight. More than which section of the bylaw we should start on, is which framework that the consultants are offering here is your preferred alternative, if any, so we can report back to them.
Who's the champion for this project for the town? Is that you?
It's you.
I mean, planning board, but you're
I'm
running on this,
I'm just the worker bee. All right, but seriously, folks, it is you. It's you and the zoning board. The zoning board put in the
Are you
article.
the male or female? Never mind.
There's always going to be somebody who's a coordinator, but I think the boards, the zoning board and this board are the champions, seriously. The zoning board brought the article forward. These things took 90 years to create. Remember, this was voted back in 1926, and there are elements that reside there. It's not going to take 9 months to cure. It's not going to take, maybe take a few years. I thought maybe 3 or 4 or 5 town meetings. But it is going to ramp up. And it's this planning board that makes the recommendation to town meeting. And we like to act in a collaborative fashion with those other boards and town officials that utilize it. But seriously, folks, this is, you guys got to be the champion on this, together with the zoning board. And we'll help you all the way, okay?
Yes.
The only thing I can really bring to this board is a fresh eye, and what we're looking for is a table of contents to the eventual documents.
Mhm.
The option 2 provides a more transparent table of contents because it doesn't hide things. I'm not sure anyone would think to look onto agriculture for a kennel. I think if you were interested in restaurants, you'd want to find it quickly. Option 2, if you go through, there are very few differences between the 2 options, but each difference is to make something that might have been hidden in an odd category for it, gives it its own category. So as a table of contents, it would be more transparent for people who are not deeply versed in this,
Such as yourself.
such as me, right?
There's a vote for option 2.
I like option 2
I do
better as
too.
well.
We're having a discussion, option 1 and option 2. There's another 2? Okay, well, that's a majority right there. It looks like option 2 is, sorry, Paul, I didn't count, but we already got the number. Is that good for, unless you have something, you still agree with 2? Or you like 1?
What is 1 and 2?
What?
What are 1 and 2?
They were handed out,
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Okay,
There is a difference. I mean,
there's a
there's,
difference.
yeah,
There's a difference, but it's not a huge difference.
no. But it's just subtle enough, I think, that
You want to look?
No, I haven't, thank you.
so Brian, how will this go? Then, the next time this is on our agenda, or is this something we will keep on our agenda until it's done?
Yeah, once we have the skeleton, we're going to start hanging things off.
Every week, or
You're going to be seeing just about every meeting,
something will be on at every meeting?
something's going to be going. Sometimes I have to push the consultants, because they're very busy too, but they're churning in the background. So
So
you'll be seeing a lot of this over the summer and the fall.
what will we see next meeting regarding the zoning bylaw restructuring?
I don't have the scope of work in front of me, but it might be just that, definitions. We'll start hanging the definitions. We'll take what's in the bylaw, put it into this form. And then we're going to start, like some of the deadwood we don't need, some of the definitions that need to be changed. So once the consultant has the framework, the old bylaw goes in it, and then we start working on it section by section.
So, Paul, one of the things that I've learned to get things done is keeping them on the agenda does keep them moving. So maybe we'll, for now, let's keep this spot for zoning bylaw restructuring on the agenda unless you tell us for some reason it's just postponed. So it'll be a
That's fine.
standard thing and it'll be non-standard to set it back a week.
That's fine.
Okay, so it's on there unless otherwise pushed back.
with a specific piece of it,
Well,
not just
Yeah, my sense is it'd be on your agenda every week, and it might be just an update.
Yeah.
And I like to get you your homework at least a week or so in advance. I didn't want to just give it to you that night, what do you think? So
Right.
you'll at least have an update on what's going on. We met with the consultants, we're doing this and that, and then you'll probably see it the following week.
Jim, a question for Brian. Brian, in the past, we've done a lot of house cleaning with different bylaws, where we've taken out a sentence and subtracted and added, replaced. Is that how we're going to have to go through this, with each bylaw that we change? You know, let's say we take out something about the ice harvesting. Are we going to have to do that for that individual bylaw and go bylaw by bylaw?
Yeah, I think each some districts are going to be proposed to be eliminated. My sense is the ag district, I know that's going to not go over big, but you can always have agriculture throughout the town by right. We have a right to farm bylaw. The two districts themselves are nearly identical. When you look at what's allowed in a residential zone, what's allowed in an agricultural zone.
It's the size of the lots that's different, right? Isn't that?
No,
the major-
they're identical.
There's lot sizes the
They're
same?
identical.
What is the major difference then?
There are more agricultural by right uses in an agricultural zone, obviously. You can have an airport in an agricultural zone, but there's not a lot of big differences. So they're probably going to try to merge that together so you have a true residential district, and then allow agriculture as a matter of right within the town, regardless of what your zoning district is, if you have a certain limited, a certain lot size or whatever it might be. Remember, most of the agricultural zoning we showed town meeting back many years ago, they're subdivisions today.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's the reality. One of the reasons why it didn't pass town meeting is people thought their property taxes would go up. So we need to revisit that, because you have an entire district that may not make a lot of sense where it's applied today. You may still have areas where you want to retain an agricultural zone. True agricultural zoning where I come, it's a 40-acre minimum lot size. And a house is an accessory use to the farm.
Yeah.
That's agricultural zoning where I come from. And that might be what's proposed. But having lived next to a farm, a chicken farm, and a horse farm in Connecticut, not as bucolic as you think. But if folks still want to have a vestige of agricultural uses in town, we do have them. There'll be a home for that. But we're going to start with some of the things that perhaps have evolved over time. That are no longer necessary.
Is it thought that this would be indexed so that those things that have been recategorized and perhaps the category gone, it will be available in the index to look now for where its remnants might be?
Right. In fact, one of the most important things we'll have is the legislative history.
Mhm.
So there'll be the editor's notes, deleted, annual town meeting, whatever it might be, see former bylaw, X, Y, Z. Because even though you may have a new bylaw sometime in the future, remember, there are any number of protections that are allowed under the state statute that can go back years. So we need to be able to index that and go back to see what zoning applies to this lot 7 years ago, because that's the zoning protection that might be in place. So we just can't out with the old and in with the new. Right.
I think we've got to consider making some of the abbreviations for them better. One of the things that our assessors do is agricultural. They put the code GB. It's AGB.
Right.
And I've had it misinterpreted as general business.
Which would make sense.
And I had actually seen property that was listed as general business, and it was agricultural. And it was like, it really is confusing.
And I think the consultants are doing a good job even looking at the business districts.
Right.
You know, we have business 1, business 2, business 3. Well, do we really want to, what's a, business 1 is a 0 lot line type zoning. Are there really tremendous differences between some of these business districts that are here today? So they're going from agricultural to, light industrial, to take a look at things that might make sense to be condensed or revised or yes, eliminated, if in fact we don't ever use it.
Okay.
Jim, I
Right,
have a
so-
question.
Yes, Paul?
If the process of doing this is to take sections of it and upgrade them, you mentioned definitions or abbreviations or whatever, if they were done, is it appropriate to circulate those with other board members, boards in town? And which are the ones we truly have to circulate with?
For sure, the zoning board.
ZBA and conservation and what other ones would
Yeah,
be
I
involved?
think that most of your regulatory boards, because you would want your definitions to coincide as best as you possibly can, say between, we don't want to define a wetlands boundary under zoning that's different from conservation.
I'm talking about the input now.
Yeah.
It would be appropriate to have a legal review of that too, I would imagine.
Mr. Duffy's involved every step of the way, building commissioner's involved
So if we
every step
came
of
up
the
with a
way.
piece that we could feel comfortable circulating, we circulate into 6 or 8 or how many there are.
Right.
And then get feedback.
Right.
And then who's the arbiter of resolving these issues?
This board
Us.
brings the recommendation to town meeting.
Okay, so come back to us, we make revisions, and then present whatever we can to town meeting.
Well, there's a step in between, public hearing,
Okay,
which is pretty important.
yeah. I'm trying to get the
Yeah,
process,
but
that's a good point.
the public meeting, everything we do, we can come up with ideas, then we put it out to the public and we have a hearing on it, and everyone gets a say. And so the other boards will always have a chance then too, but we'll give them 2 bites at the apple. One, we'll give it to them in advance, and then when we have our hearing, they'll be on notice to come at our
Well,
public hearing.
perhaps the thing to do at the next meeting when we discuss this, talk about what chunks we want to attack first. Have us talk about what areas we would like to address first. And then if we agree with that, then we can move forward.
Pat?
I think what we're going to find is that by starting with the definitions, and if we have a free-ranging discussion on the definitions, it will bring up holes in the bylaws. It will serve to say, okay, out with that one, it no longer applies. So it will give us a way forward, a start of a way forward. I think, I agree with Jim too, that that is the place to start.
Well, my only point is we don't have a process in place. We could meander on this for a long, long time and not get anything done. So I think we have to have a process that we agree with, take pieces of it and address those, and then go through whatever the process is. Otherwise, we're going to wind up with maybe not much after a long period of time.
I
Well,
would suggest we do it in order.
yeah, this is the framework.
Start at 1.
And looking at.
Remember, go back to the scope, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Go
please.
back to the scope of work we gave you for the consultant, which is about a year's worth of work. And you'll pretty much see how we're going to progress. But I don't want to keep you with a black box or anything mysterious. Take a look at their scope of work, again. That's sort of the direction we're going to be heading in. If you want to emphasize certain sections, that's fine. And definitions make a lot of sense. But eventually, you come back to town meeting with pretty much a product. But you don't want to come back, you don't want to go, we're not envisioning going back, sort of piecemeal. Go back with major changes, major deletions, major changes, revisions and whatnot, over the period of the next 3 years.
So when do you think the first time we'd be taking anything to town meeting will be?
April.
April.
That's my recommendation. And I think in November, you need to set the table and let everyone know what's coming down the pike, just like you did with the accessory.
Right, I was going to say, you gave us good advice and it worked on the accessory apartment. We told them it was coming, and then we did it, and that worked.
Right.
And also, Paul, when we did that, it put the gun to our head. We had a timetable, we had to get it done in a certain amount of time. So I think that's what you're getting at, is we just don't want this to meander. So we'll be doing it every
Yes.
April.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Sir. You'll be seeing it not only at the annual, but my sense is every available town meeting that you're ready for.
It'd be, okay.
Touche.
All All right, so great, that's good news. I'll get them going. I'll put that on your agenda, at least as an update, every agenda.
What's happened to general correspondence? We don't have that folder.
Everything is email.
What?
Everything is
It's
email.
okay, it just doesn't come anymore, right? Because we used to have that purple folder, it's been a few weeks.
You should probably think about,
No more snail mail.
I'll put a question mark next to it.
Future agenda items.
I heard committee reports.
Yeah, I think it is
All right, I put that down.
good. Committee reports would be good. So,
Other than the ones we've already suggested, I think we have a pretty full plate.
no, but I'm saying the people on those committees will come back.
No,
with-
I'm talking about future agenda items.
Right, we're full, right.
Yeah, some of the things we're bringing you back are obviously David Straits, bylaw restructuring. I know you want to get into sort of the nuts and bolts of like TDRs and whatnot, and we're looking at that a bit. If in fact you have any, I'll get that under next meeting. So. But yeah,
Okay.
you'll be seeing a ramp up here
Yeah.
over the next few months, especially in the fall.
Got a good memory.
The next, is the next meeting, is the next thing on the agenda. June 20th, is everyone going to be available?
I believe so.
No,
No, you're not?
I'm gone from the 16th to July 2nd,
Have a good time, where are you going?
Scotland.
Oh, cool,
Nice.
that should be fun.
Scotland.
I've heard of that place.
June 20th.
It's on a roll.
That,
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Whoa,
Second?
whoa, whoa,
Whoa,
whoa, whoa.
whoa.
Future agenda, future meetings, just keep in mind, I got an email late tonight that the selectmen are thinking about a meeting with the planning board either on July the 24th or July the 31st, and that's a Monday. So just think about that for now. I haven't responded, but look at your calendars and think about that. It's a Monday night,
24 to 31.
What presentation is it?
Joint meeting with the-
joint meeting.
with the selectmen.
The agenda to
Oh,
be
with the
determined.
selectmen.
Select.
That's a
do
Monday.
you know what, is there a primary thing already on their agenda? I mean,
I don't, we haven't talked to Jen, I just got an email, the selectmen discussed it at their meeting last night. If in fact the planning board members are available on those two dates, it's a date to set for a joint meeting and then determine the agenda. So just keep it in mind, look at your calendars, hasn't been determined yet. If you can get back to me as to your availability, I can then talk to Mr. Sousa.
so I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We're adjourned. Thank you.